in the fucking bathroom, nasty ass public bathroom, and whip their tit out and feed their baby in disgusting shit air.
Well, also, like, would you go eat in there? No.
Like,
so why
really?
are you gonna make my baby go eat in there?
Like eating off the fucking public bathroom floor.
Right.
Or
I mean,
shove your
I
face in
think
the toilet. Welcome back to Talking About the Taboo. You know who it is. It's Natalie Malloy. This is a podcast where we get real about sex, bodies, identity, and everything in between. I love that you guys come here for the curiosity of it. And today we're going deep into a season that gets way less attention than it should. The fourth trimester, pregnancy. So often the focus is on the baby, but what about the person who just fucking gave birth? The bleeding, the boobs, the mental fog, the hormonal roller coaster, the sex, or the lack thereof it. What about the whole identity shift, the healing and the help that we actually need? And I've got a powerhouse guest joining me today, guys. She's a birth doula, a certified lactation consultant, and a postpartum doula too. Basically, your dream teen if you're preparing for living through postpartum life or just becoming pregnant. Emma's journey in the world of maternal health started with a postpartum doula certification through Childbirth International. While in this program, she discovered the amazing processes of lactation and breastfeeding. By 2023, she was a certified postpartum doula and an international board-certified lactation consultant. She built her business, the Luna Doula Co., while attending university, graduating with a Bachelor's of Science in Integrative Health in 2024. Today, she continues to work with families offering breastfeeding and doula support and has recently started a podcast, the Boobology Podcast. I fucking loved it. And I love it so much. So history, and she's just so cute with it. And she's working towards becoming what we all should appreciate, especially this week, a registered nurse. We're breaking down what the books don't say, what support truly looks like, and how to reconnect with your body using the eccentric embodiment and just reconnecting with your fucking self. So get cozy or hit play while you're pacing around with the baby in one arm and a nipple shield in the other, and let's get into it. Clip me and Kate. Alrighty, let's get real. Things that go and happen after birth never look as flowy and cutesy as the movies make it look, and that is why we have a guest here, a powerhouse guest, as I said. Hi, Emma.
hello. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I'm really happy to have you here, generally because I haven't had a podcast episode regarding pregnancy and postpartum, and that's a fucking sex podcast.
Yes, I'm all about birth and boobs and babies.
Yeah, we got boobs and babies. We got boobs right here.
Yes, I love it. I got boobs right here.
I love it. Yes, we got boobs and more boobs.
Yes.
So before I get into the nitty gritty with you, being that this is my passion, I want to know how your passion turned into a purpose. Like, what is your why? How did you get here?
Yeah, so I've always wanted to go into nursing. My mom is a nurse, and I have always been a little bit nerdy about anatomy and health and holistic wellness stuff. So I always knew that I would end up in healthcare in general. And my journey through nursing school has been a little bit unconventional, but I am making my way there. So I am in a nursing program right now to get my RN, and hopefully I'll finish that up next year. But in the meantime, I decided to explore this different area of maternal child health, and that started with getting my postpartum doula certification. And when I was in that training program, I learned about lactation and boobs, and I was mesmerized by the physiology and the sociology and the magic of breastfeeding and breast milk, and kind of fell in love with it. So I knew that I wanted to further my education in that department. So I did that, and now we're here.
So why do you call it unconventional?
I started school a little bit later
Ugh.
than most people, and then I ended up going into a program, and then I discovered doulaing. So I kind of dipped out for a little bit, and then I went to a different school, and just in December graduated with my bachelor's in integrative health.
Okay.
And so now I'm rerouting back to nursing school, but I'm an accelerated program rather than a traditional program. So it's just kind of been
Yeah.
a little bit of
I
this, a little bit of that.
I feel like instead of, because you're a fucking powerhouse. Instead of saying unconventional, I would say this is my fucking journey. You
Yeah.
have been on an amazing journey.
Mm-hmm.
Also, we're both very young
Yes.
and you have a lot of angst. You're ready to go, and
Yeah.
I think you're motivated just from seeing you through the screen and also seeing you obviously in person. And I think you've got what it takes for what you want to do. And I love that your passion is turning into an amazing purpose.
Yeah. There's honestly, I might be a little bit biased, just a little bit, but
Thanks.
there's honestly like no better purpose than breastfeeding, which I mean sounds kind of crazy, but
Mm-mm.
it's a sociologic issue, it's a health issue. I mean, it's a public health issue. It's it's so much. It's so many things. I
Yeah.
love it. It's so cool.
I think boobs are just some like mysterious, and it shouldn't be really
Mhm.
mysterious, but they are. And a lot of people are like, oh, it's just a big lump of fat on my chest. But no,
No, they're
they
so
have all of
magical.
these just duties and these beautiful things. I mean, amongst being sexy, I mean, duh, but they also
Mhm.
have a job,
Yeah.
which you study. Coming from somebody who's not a mom, I actually am really hit or miss with if I want kids or not. And
Same.
interested. I'm gonna pick your brain a little bit.
Yes.
I love my vagina. I really love my vagina.
Period. As you should.
And I don't think I want to spread it open for anything else besides a dick. And I'd
Sure.
also am really selfish with my time. I'm scared of the pain. I'm scared of what comes after postpartum, postpartum depression. I mean, losing hair, your teeth, and the enamel and the calcium. And I mean, I thought of it all, and it's really hard because my mom wants me to have kids, and I can't have kids for somebody else's. It's like that movie where it's like, I'm not living my dream, I'm living your dream.
You can't do this, Case. You're giving up your dream.
No, Mom. I'm giving up your dream.
Uh-huh.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
talking about? So how what would you like say to somebody, like me and yourself, kind of talk to yourself here and talk to the person who's watching this, like, I don't want kids. Well, how should I think?
That's totally cool. Don't have kids then. Like, I don't think that we're in a place in society where we necessarily need a ton more of us. So I think
Yeah.
it's okay if people don't want to have kids. Then don't. But if you're doing it simply because you're afraid, I would say just get educated
Hmm.
about the whole process, because I think for a lot of us, pregnancy, birth, postpartum, breastfeeding, it's talked about, but it's not talked about. It's sort of taboo. So
Hee
I would say just get educated from the right sources. If that's your reasoning, if that's not your reasoning, then do your thing. But I think the reasons that you brought up of it's a whole body experience. Like, your body is hijacked basically to produce life, and then to birth that life, and then to sustain that life. So a lot of women run into the issue of feeling like their body isn't theirs anymore, or they don't know who they are anymore, or they're identifying internally and externally as a mother.
Yep.
So it can be very stripping of your identity. So I totally get that part of it.
And we talk about like you know, you talked about that binary a little bit, is how either you're a mother or you're not a mother. And if you become a mother, you're always a mother and you're never just,
And you're only a mother, or that's
yeah,
how it feels.
yeah. Or, you know, if you become a wife, oh, you're so-and-so's wife. No, hey, Natalie, nice to meet you. Yeah, the lack of identity. But being that you don't have kids and you're kind of questioning a little bit if you even want kids or not, I also, you know, you're going into this as a career. And I wonder what questions, you know, your clients may have or may in the future ask you, like, well, you don't have kids. What do you know? Like that type of conversation. How would you approach that conversation?
So my favorite thing to say here is I totally get it if you want a doula, lactation consultant, a support person, whatever. If you want somebody who's gone through that, totally get it. It's your right to make that decision. And honestly, if I was giving birth, I'd probably be like, I need like an old grandma who's given birth like 15 times to like, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's whatever your personal preference is, but we have male OBGYNs and nobody is shaking a stick at them. We have, you know, nurses and doctors and psychiatrists and all of these healthcare people. They've never had diabetes before. They've never had cancer before. They've never had, you know, schizophrenia before, but they're treating people with these conditions. So it's not that you need to be in that person's shoes. It's that you need to have the knowledge to be able to help them.
That is a fucking amazing answer. Pop off.
Pop off. I've thought about this a lot because I do get criticism about it. I do.
What do they say?
I mean, just what you said. I mean, what would you know? Like you haven't gone through it yourself, so why would I trust you? Or I mean, I have kind of a baby face, so it's like, what are you like? You're 15 and telling me how to like take care of my baby or something, like, you know what I mean?
God,
Which is it's fine, but yeah, it's this criticism that other areas of healthcare don't get.
Yeah, 1000% And I ask that because I worry about the criticism. For me, I'm going to be a sexologist. I'm only 24. I'm 24 years old. And I have not been divorced, nor have I been married, nor do I have kids. And being a sexologist, people are like, what do you know? And I'm like, a lot, actually. I know this about this and this about that. And I answer very, very similarly to you, is like, okay, when you go to your counselor, do you think your counselor has schizophrenia? I literally say, like, do you think, because my dad has schizophrenia.
Okay.
And so that's a really great example because do they? No, that's right. They don't. We're not what a peer support specialist is. If you've ever heard of that before, a peer support specialist has been someone who has gone through what you have gone through. And if you want that, like, yes, cool, awesome, get that. I get it. But don't come at me and my career choice because you don't understand why I know what I know.
Yeah.
And I may blow your mind with what I know.
Right. Yeah. So, and even people who have lived through those experiences, I mean, peer support has its place, absolutely, 110%. But those peers haven't had the education that you or I have had in our respective fields.
Yes.
So it's a different kind of support.
Yeah, exactly. And kind of diving into is the unknown of pregnancy and not knowing what comes with and what comes after. And we really go by what the media shows us and the movie shows us. And I just want to know, like, what does it really look like? Like, how would you go to somebody, someone is coming to you and they sit down for a consult and they're coming to you and they're like, I don't know what to do. I just found your page and I need a doula. What even is a doula? I just need help. You know, maybe they're 19, you know, and they're really, really young and haven't had any parental anything. Because sex education, don't even get me fucking started on that bullshit.
Yeah.
Is bullshit. So what do you do? What does it look like in the beginning?
Yeah. So a doula is really there for educational support, moral support, emotional support, physical support, practical support. So this is a really bad answer, and I tell everybody that's a really bad answer, but a doula is whatever you need them to be besides a medical professional. They're not medical professionals.
Yeah.
unless they have different credentials. But a doula themselves is not birthing the baby. They're not doing your prenatal visits. They're not doing anything like that. But if you're like, hey, I don't know, is this a normal symptom? I can send you resources on that. If you're like, hey, I think I need to find, XYZ provider, I can send you resources on that. If you need reassurance, hit me up. I can, we can talk about stuff and talk about your fears and worries and what to expect. And we can build a birth plan. We can build a postpartum plan. And that's really it on like the prenatal end is like just the preparation and just kind of being there for somebody. You would
Yeah.
you would be surprised how many moms just need somebody to talk to.
Yeah. Just a person, just their person during this really, really rearrange of their body and identity. And so you talk about like the birth plan. Have you ever had somebody like an at-home birth before?
Not me, but I
Okay.
mean, there are people who do home births, and I think that's super awesome. And I would love to attend one, but I just haven't yet.
So like, what is that before birth plan really look like? So when you sit down and you're planning a birth plan, what are you planning?
Again, it's whatever the person wants. So what setting do you want to give birth in? Is it a home birth? Is it a hospital birth? Is it a birth center birth? What provider do you want? Do you want an OBGYN? Do you want a midwife? What interventions do you or don't you want? Are you trying to do a unmedicated birth? Are you okay with getting an epidural? How about induction? All of the pieces that could go into birth are the things that you want to talk about in your birth plan. And you want to make sure that both parties, both mom and dad are on board with it so that they're kind of a team. And you can create the doula and the parents and the rest of the healthcare team kind of create this cohesive continuity of care where everybody's on the same page and everybody's comfortable kind of situation.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. You're filling the support gap, essentially. That's what you do. And so, I think about me and my mom tells me about my birth story. It's on video, apparently. I need to find it.
Oh boy. Yes. We could have watched it here today.
I know. But my mom, my dad and my mom are not together. They weren't together for very long, but I was like a one-night stand baby. And
That's cool.
I know, right? But my dad is really fucking annoying, and he was like grossed out by it, and he almost like fainted. He was like, I don't want to talk about that, and it's like, why'd you stick your dick in? Anyways, what conversation? What conversations are you having with like the dads too, and like working together with the moms, like when the birth happens, this is kind of where she wants you. Like, do you have conversations like that at all?
Yeah. So, like I said, it is a team effort a lot of the time. If dads aren't on board with whether it's birth or postpartum or breastfeeding, any of it, if dads aren't on board, that is a huge obstacle for mom to overcome, because that's her support person, that's there most of the time. And also somebody who sort of gets a say in what goes on, because that's their kid too, once they come out and whatnot. Having them on board is an important piece. And I think a lot of that is also education, because I think a lot of people are just standoffish or grossed out by this kind of stuff because we're told that it's taboo. We're told that it's weird. It's disgusting. It should be kept under wraps. Oh, that's just for women to deal with, So I think just the education piece goes such a long way in kind of getting everybody on the same page.
Yeah. And that's why I brought that up, because I think that watching birthing videos should be a part of sex education.
Yeah.
Like full out and full in. You need to see everything, and also C-section, and also, and we don't need to put the males separate. There's this show called Sex Education, and they have a separate class for just women to watch birthing videos.
Sorry, is the boys' class being taught about pregnancy as well, or is it just us girls? It's just us, is it? Very progressive.
Quiet, Maeve. After getting pregnant, I had no choice but to leave school.
There are always choices. Women do not have to have children.
Enough.
And we shouldn't be shamed for having sexual desires. You make sex sound terrifying, but it doesn't have to be. It can be fun and beautiful and teach you things.
I don't know what, sexuality that male may have, but they still should be able to understand what a woman goes through, because that's how you got here.
Mm-hmm.
And understanding it. But we put so much focus, though, on labor, and I understand that there is a lot that goes into labor, but the season that gets mistreated is postpartum.
Agreed.
And I want to really understand, like, and pick your brain about that a little bit, because, like, there's a lot of struggles that come after. I mean, obviously we talked about, said that, like, losing the hair, and like sometimes during pregnancy or after pregnancy, but like postpartum depression.
Mm-hmm.
That is probably one of the hardest moments ever, because you want to bond with your baby, but you can't bond with your baby.
Mm-hmm.
And then the dad's stuck and they don't know what to do. And the mom feels like she's just a mom and her whole life is changing. And so, like, what are some of the most common struggles that you see new parents face in postpartum?
Just about everything under the sun, but mostly I would say not giving yourself grace.
Yeah.
You have just made a human from scratch, and your body is changed because of it. And then you birthed that human, and now you are feeding that human. So your body's going through a lot. It is okay to give yourself grace. We mentioned bounce back culture and all this and that. And I think that comes not only with physicality, our physical body, but also lifestyle stuff.
Yeah.
Like, you need to get back on the horse, basically. And it's okay to just give yourself grace. Like, you just pulled off something that's super freaking cool. Like, allow it to just be that. I think a lot of people are like, okay, we're done with that part, and now it's time for me to get back to me. But there's some kind of beauty in not being you anymore, to a certain extent. And that's not to erase who you were before, but you're changed now, and that's super cool. You're changed because you just created life and birthed life and are continuously sustaining life. It's okay to embrace that too.
And it's like, let me introduce you to the new me.
Right.
And I think that's essentially what you're trying to say, is that, like, no, I mean, yes, it does feel as if your identity is being taken away, and we're not discounting that. But what we're saying is, this is a new you. Again, the word powerhouse keeps coming up. This is a powerhouse you.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, you're just doing something really awesome. But, again, there's the pain, and they have to wear diapers, and they're still bleeding, and they're still bloated. And I always had a question too, is like, a lot of moms are like, why isn't my belly going down? Like, it's still like big. And how long does it take, like, for the belly to fully go down and all of the organs to go back into place and all of that?
So generally speaking, that process is called uterine involution, where the uterus kind of goes back down to its pre-pregnancy size, going back from the size of a watermelon to the size of a lemon. So again, give yourself grace. Your body's doing a lot of work, but that can take about 6 to 8 weeks. But breastfeeding actually supports and speeds up that process, because the act of breastfeeding releases the hormone oxytocin, and oxytocin is responsible for those uterine contractions during birth. So it will actually help the uterus to squeeze down and get back down to its pre-pregnancy size a little bit quicker.
So when we talk about breastfeeding too, there's a lot of misconceptions with that. We'll get to the society thing as well, but I mean, I'm worried the baby's gonna bite my nipple off. I know there's no teeth yet, but, like, I mean, my man accidentally, as he's sucking on my nipple, and he accidentally bites on it. I'm like, fuck! You know? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So how do you kind of guide a new mom through the breastfeeding? And like some people can't even actually lactate. Like how do you guide them through that and the idea about formula and just that whole idea?
So, not being able to lactate is called insufficient glandular tissue, and it's actually really rare. So, more often than not, people can lactate. They're probably just misled on how to do it because a lot of providers and professionals are not educated on how to support the breastfeeding dyad.
Yeah.
So, that first and foremost. But let's talk nipples. Let's do it. So, breastfeeding should never be painful, actually. And if it is, that indicates that something's wrong. So, you don't have to worry about your baby biting your nipples off unless they have some sort of oral dysfunction or suck dysfunction.
So my niece has a cleft lip.
Mm-hmm.
And I always wanted to be there to support my sister. My sister and I aren't very close. We have two different moms, but I always wondered how that process works. If someone was born with a cleft lip, can they breastfeed?
It depends on the severity and the placement of it.
Okay.
So there's cleft lips and then there's also cleft palates. There are specialized bottles or feeders for
Okay. Yeah, I think she had one of those.
yeah, but the breast is also malleable, as I'm sure you know. So you can sort of just fit it where it needs to go in order to create a seal. And so long as there's a seal, you can breastfeed effectively, generally speaking.
So, you know, when you have the breast near the baby's mouth, a lot of people just think the baby's just going to automatically latch. And so I know there's that disconnect when the mom just gets really frustrated. It's like, oh, the baby's not latching. Like, what's going on? I'm trying both tits and their tits are red and they're hard and they need to just squirt, you know? And
Right.
how do you walk through that process with a mom where the baby's not latching?
Yeah. So I think that there's two parts to this answer. Part one is babies are biologically wired with reflexes and instinctive behaviors that help them to actually self-attach. So I don't know if you've heard of something called the breast crawl, but if you put a baby on their mom's chest, they have all of the reflexes to navigate down to the breast and latch onto it all by themselves without you even touching them. So babies can latch and self-attach given there's not any, issues like health issues or anything like that. So there's that. You could do things to facilitate those instinctual behaviors, like certain positions and certain things like taking a bath with a baby, lots of skin to skin, stuff like that can kind of get their instincts and reflexes geared up a little bit. There's also, I mean, that's such a hefty topic because
I know, yeah.
latching it depends where mom is positioning her hands. How's baby positioned at the breast? Is everybody, angry and pissed off and crying? Because that's going to make things a lot more difficult too. So I think it's too complex to even give a straight answer.
Yeah, no, I understand that. I think the baby is what you're essentially saying is vicariously living through what the mom motivationally can do. Like the baby knows that it has this need to like hunger, right? And the mom is just trying to figure it out. And I think that's where your idea of grace comes in. And I think it can be very frustrating when your tits really fucking hurt and you're already pissed off and emotional and you just there's just so many emotions that go on, and you've been in this period of time. And so what about too where the mom is holding the baby and she just got a C-section and there's that uncomfortability right there? So like how would you actually direct a mom to hold the baby properly without hurting herself, and then all the other things? How do you walk the father through helping out when you're not there? And there's just so many questions. Oh my gosh.
There's so many things. Yes, this is a very complex thing. But with the C-section, typically the hospital or, your provider will have you do what's called the football hold. And that's where you have baby's hand basically right here and they're feet go that way.
Oh, okay.
So you're kind of holding them like a football.
Gotcha.
And that keeps, their body away from, and their feet away from the incision. But so you can do that. Or generally speaking, if you just are holding baby up high enough, they probably won't hit that incision anyway, because the incision's probably lower than you think. It's kind of tucked into your
area down there. Yeah.
Your what am I saying? Pants line. It's kind of like it's a little bit lower than you think, probably.
And so too is like the mom can be figuring all of this out, and then postpartum depression arises. And I just really want to get into that too, because my sister really struggled with it and I don't understand it yet. I know regular depression, I have social worker, but the mom is already struggling and the dad's trying to figure it out. And this is heterosexually, by the way. It could be whatever it may be, but
Sure.
How do you really sit with the mom in that moment?
Yeah. So I think a lot of people can feel disconnected from their baby, disconnected from their partner, disconnected from themselves. A lot of anxiety. There's a lot of postpartum anxiety going on. I have no partum anxiety, so I get it. But
Yeah.
I mean, there's hormonal shifts. You're sleep deprived. You are learning this new role. You aren't you anymore. Your partner isn't your partner anymore. Everything's changed. And on top of it, you have a screaming, crying baby to take care of. So it's like super overwhelming. Your internal and external environments are entirely different.
Yeah.
So it's hard to navigate, and a lot of people will just kind of withdraw and dissociate, or kind of just not feel themselves. Weepiness, crying, sadness, it can manifest in a lot of different ways. But I think just, again, giving yourself grace and knowing that that's normal.
Yeah.
Some 80% of women get what's called the baby blues, which is a sort of mild version of postpartum depression in the first 2 weeks. And I think just A, knowing to expect it, and B, having a support system around you, to help you, and finding professional support if and when you need it can be really important. And just getting some of that overwhelm off of your plate, I think can be helpful. But with it, I think a lot of mood disorders and a lot of, postpartum depression, stuff like that, can come with the isolation that moms feel in the postpartum period, because, they say it takes a village to raise a baby, and then there's no village to be found. And women are told that not being able to do it alone is shameful. So they're scared to even admit that they're feeling this way. So they kind of just go further into isolation, and it makes everything worse. So we need to change the society is what we need to do.
Yeah. Let alone the societal expectations. You're trying to breastfeed your baby in public, and that whole debate. I'm reading a book right now. And I actually just finished it today. It's called Life Isn't Binary. And obviously it talks about sexuality and gender in there, but it also talks about how there's a million other binaries in there. And the binary that it talks about is like good and bad and logical and emotional. But we also talk about, or they also talk about in that book, how putting something up for debate makes it known that it's debatable. It's not debatable.
Yeah.
This isn't something I see on the internet too. Do like a picture of somebody breastfeeding. Ew, this is disgusting. Like keep your boobs in your bra. Like you can go to a separate area or in the bathroom. Like, would you like to who wants to sit in the fucking bathroom, nasty ass public bathroom, and whip their tit out and feed their baby in a disgusting shit air?
Well, also, like, would you go eat in there? No.
Like,
so why are you gonna make my baby go eat in there?
Like eating off the fucking public bathroom floor.
Right.
I
mean,
think
I think
in the toilet.
This is like
huge.
Oh my God, I could do like jumping jacks of how angry this stuff makes me, but like jump off the walls. But I think this all goes into the hypersexualization of women's bodies and of breasts, which is kind of a interesting dilemma, I guess, because sex is sex because we need to reproduce. And wide hips and big breasts are attractive because that says, hey, I could sustain your baby. So, of course, men are going to be more attracted to that. Hence why things are sexualized in that way. But we've gone in such this crazy direction with it to where the very use of our breasts as biologically intended, feeding babies, is now this taboo, horrible, don't ever do it, I don't want to talk about it thing. And it's mind boggling.
And why is that? I mean, it's a natural, it's seen as unnatural actually. People
It is.
really, and I don't understand that disconnect. And I don't know where that started in history. I mean, I see a lot
There's
of
so many
photos.
there's so many points in history where that started.
I wanted to, well, give me a little bit. Don't do too much, but give me a little bit. Like, where really did it start?
Yeah. I mean, I think it stems from the oppression of women in general.
Okay. Yeah.
And also the rise of formula and the dairy industry, as well as the rise of modern medicine. So I think it kind of comes from all of these areas where you're not supposed to, A, don't be a woman. First mistake.
Good luck.
and B, don't trust your body because I can make money off of you if you don't.
Whoa.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, it's very transactional.
Yes.
Our bodies
Yep.
are transactional, and I get that with the formula and the dairy. Question too is, can, back then, if formula wasn't really invented, but like approved, right? Can a mom that's having difficulty lactating or cannot lactate for whatever reason, right? That small percentage, can the baby drink another person's milk and be okay?
100%. It's actually biologically normal it's called co-nursing, where it's like swapping babies on different boobs. And humans did it throughout history because it's really beneficial for their health. You have introduction of different microbes from, the microbiome of the breast milk itself, but also the microbiome of that person's skin is now being introduced to the baby. So the baby's getting a lot of different antibodies. So you're getting more microbiome goodness and more antibodies from different people. So it's absolutely normal and totally beneficial to co-nurse.
What about too when people talk about how they like smoke, you can't smoke during pregnancy, cigarettes, and or weed? What if someone, or like alcohol? I really want to know about dietary restrictions when you're breastfeeding, because a lot of the times people don't understand that, and a lot of nutrients, but a lot of bad stuff gets passed down. So talk a little bit about that.
So before I say anything at all, I will say that it's not a well-researched thing in the grand scheme of research because it's unethical to try things out on moms and babies. So it's kind of like this gray area where we don't really know a whole ton about it because we can't really just research to our heart's desire. But there are certain things that will cross over into breast milk, and it depends on the chemical properties of that substance, I guess. So, I mean, even something as simple as cow's milk, there's a certain protein in cow's milk that can cross over into our human milk and cause issues in the baby because that's a foreign thing that shouldn't be in the baby's body. So you can have these weird crossovers of different substances. And with alcohol, it kind of bounces back and forth between the blood supply and the milk supply. So the whole idea of the whole idea of pumping and dumping is garbaggio,
Oh.
because it's whatever your blood alcohol content is what your milk alcohol content is. Let's say I just drank a bottle of wine,
Mm-hmm.
and then I pump out my milk,
Mm-hmm.
and I still have wine in my blood. That next,
I see.
bit of milk that's still left in there or whatever, the milk that's being produced currently also has wine in it, because not wine, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The alcohol in it, because
Oh.
it's a constant back and forth
Still
between
circulating.
the two. Mm-hmm.
I wonder if they can do like testing on like animals and mammals that breastfeed, but like you can't really give an animal alcohol.
Yeah, I don't really know how that would work.
I hope to
I guess
see.
we could.
I don't know. I just hope to see some type of research with that.
I hope to see a hell of a lot more research in a hell of a lot more areas relating to women's health. I mean, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure women didn't even start being included in research until like the 50s or something, or
Ain't
later.
that some fucking shit?
With the help of many of the advocacy groups here, we started to get some interest in Congress. At that point, I did not know the information about women not being included in clinical trials. But the Women's Caucus was very good, because they turned up a piece of evidence saying that women should be included in clinical trials. And by September, they had organized the Office of Women's Health Research. Things started to move fast.
In the 35 years since the Society for Women's Health Research was founded, there have been some major tentpole moments that we've been a part of. Just a few years after we were founded, in 1993, women were first included in clinical trials. Then in 2016, sex is a biological variable, the rule was put into place. And then just in the last year and a half, we've seen a renewed effort by the federal government to focus on women's health.
It goes back down to what I had mentioned previously was passion into purpose. And I think maybe even our ancestors generationally, we could have ancestors that had the same motivation as us, and we're just living down a legacy that either was outspoken in the past and we're trying to speak the fuck up now. And if there's a time to speak the fuck up, it is right now. Very much right now. I don't know what political stance you're on, but whatever you are on, I think it's just a time to speak up in general.
Sure. I think it's always a time to speak up.
Yeah. And talking just about what your opinions are and everything like that. But back to the mom, right? So we forget a lot about the mom and what the mom goes through.
Mm-hmm.
And we talk about like that lack of identity and how you feel like you're not you and you're disassociating and the baby blues and the depression. But then I really want to talk about the lack of libido. So we're definitely going to get back into the boob stuff, but here's the tea. Dry mouth is a total mood killer. You're mid-flirt, mid-kiss, or maybe mid-other things, and suddenly your mouth feels like it's been air-dried in a desert sun. Enter Flint mints. These magical little tabs don't just freshen your breath, taste like grapes and strawberry magic, but they turn your split glands like flipping sexy little switch. One mint and suddenly I'm salivating like I just saw my crush in gray sweatpants. Hint, hint. Whoop. They're really cute. Come in a little cute box. You pull one out. It only like serves you one at a time. It's really cute. I'll share a photo. They don't taste like the mints in your grandma's purse though. Plus they fit perfectly in your little bag, in a pocket, wherever you like to keep things handy. I keep it by the couch because that's where I'm giving head. If your mouth needs a little help getting wet, no judgment, babe, at all. Seriously. Flint's got you. Especially if you like smoke weed and you have dry mouth, and weed sex is amazing. Dry mouth, never heard of it. Flint mints. This is a sex podcast after all, and it's so fucking frustrating because, like you had said, people think that you just need to bounce right back into it, and your partner may not understand it entirely.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that whole 6 weeks is up, babe. Open your legs. I don't want to. I don't have libido. I am scared that you're going to pop something inside of me. So that conversation is really rough. So how do you walk through a family with who wants to get back into the intimate part of their relationship and they feel like it's just going to hurt, or that whole situation?
Sure. So I would say that starts with knowing that you're actually ready. You know, like you just said, you go to the 6-week appointment and they're like, "Okay, you're good. Bye. You know, have fun. Good luck."
Oh,
But
geez.
you need to be ready not only physically, but also emotionally. You know, there's
Yeah.
so many different factors that play into sex and
Yes.
relationships and connection.
Yes.
So, you know, we already talked about I don't feel like me anymore. You
Yeah.
know, my body has changed. I look different. I feel different. And maybe I'm ashamed. Maybe I'm embarrassed. Maybe whatever. Maybe I'm just touched out because I'm breastfeeding and I have this baby hanging from my boob 24/7 and I don't want you to even look at me.
Yeah.
Don't breathe on me, you know?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I think it starts with knowing that you're actually ready and that you want to do it. And if you do, cool. The next step is communication and respect.
Communicate.
Yes, exactly. So just having that open discussion and that open communication between partners, I think, is so important because dad might also have some, you know, things going on in his body. You know, maybe he gained a little weight with mom as she got
Yeah.
pregnant, you know, whatever. So you're both navigating this experience as new people. You know, it's you're a new mom in a new body, he's a new dad in his new body. So it's really just about communication and reassuring one another and exploring the new versions of you without the expectation that you're going to be who you were before.
I love that you talk about the body, bringing back the body, and going back to school to be, well, it's a certification, but a somatic sexologist. And what somatic means is body appreciation, body awareness. And there's this practice, tactile tool called embodiment, where you literally, like, you're literally just breathing. You have to go into like a place alone by yourself, dad or your partner can take the baby and you start to just get back in your body. And I think that's something obviously I'm probably going to have to deal with clients and things like that. And bringing yourself back into who you are. And a part of that is erotic embodiment. And just paying attention to your genitals and your boobs and how you feel. Does it hurt? Does it burn? Just being aware of it. And I appreciate you bringing up how they lose track of their body. A big question, though, too, is people are like, well, what if I am horny and it's only been 4 weeks? Am I gonna like hurt myself or like die, like dramatic, but am I gonna die if he sticks it in? Should I have anal sex instead? Wait, I mean, what if the baby ripped me through the asshole? I did that to my mom. My mom had to have her ass stitched. Yeah, it's a whole thing. There's just so many fucking questions. So guiding, the mom through like, hey, I want to fuck. So how am I supposed to do that?
Yeah. So I will say I haven't run into that because I mean, I think there's a lot going on there that kind of distracts from it. But if you did, I'm not a medical professional, so I'm not going to tell you to go ham when you have stitches or, your body is going through something. So I'm not going to say anything like that. But I will say if you want to do it and it feels good and you're not, hurting anything, do whatever the hell you want. Like, it's your body,
Yeah. And yeah, exactly. And going back to the idea of like, maybe you don't have to penetrate.
Yeah.
I'm also not a medical professional, but what I would say is that if you have stitches, you give yourself time to heal as much as you want it. And there's 4 cornerstones of love, and one of which is longing. And becoming new parents is actually really sexy and can be a turn on. And I know there's a lot of like want in there, distracted underneath all of the pain, obviously. but I would definitely guide the mom and the partner just through that embodiment exercise together, and breathing
Mhm.
together, and touch, and maybe just caressing the genitals. And it's like, no, I'm not asking you to get down on your knees and suck his dick or anything, but maybe just caress it, and then know that you guys still have it in you, and you love each other, and you just made this beautiful baby.
Mhm.
And this baby came from a beautiful time when you guys were having sex. And I think that may bring them back to the embodiment and the intimacy that comes with birthing. And
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that that goes along with, like, again, giving yourself grace, but also with embracing the season that you're in. Like, no, you might not have sex like you used to right this second, but you're both in new bodies and in new headspaces. So embrace that and see where that takes you. You know, it doesn't have to be this like strict bounce back. I want to be who I was before situation. You can kind of surrender to the experience and be like, this is where I am. This is where you are. Let's meet each other here instead of trying to, you know, go backward or meet each other where we were, because that might just lead to frustration.
yeah, and I think we shouldn't ignore this conversation too. I think sex gets really pushed under the rug. And I don't just mean sex, I mean intimacy, because having your partner there, like you said, and that's your person. And new moms may feel broken, like, I'm broken. I don't work anymore. I don't know why it used to be like this and it's not. And I used to look like this and now I don't. And then he used to look at me like this and now he probably thinks I'm disgusting because
Mhm.
I bled through, or there's just so many things that run through their head, and also society expectations, and then like movies and stuff like that shows, people giving birth, and then all of a sudden they're having sex after because the baby's sitting by the fireplace or something, whatever
Yeah.
that scene is. And there's just a lot of expectations that I think if you chose the right partner, you will feel like you're enough.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. And I wish that society would understand breastfeeding and would understand intimacy and motherhood and pregnancy and postpartum depression and that stupid bounce back ideology. And so, coming from someone who really is there with that person, what is something that you have struggled with in that period of time with that mom? Have you ever had a situation where you just like didn't know what to say to them?
All the
And
time.
how do you
All the
handle that?
time. I think it's a testament of a good person, but also like a good provider or, you
Yeah,
know,
you're a provider.
support person or whatever, to admit when you don't really know what the hell you're doing or what you're talking about. And in those situations, it's just, I'm not sure right now, but let me figure that out for you. Or I'm not sure right now, but let's, talk about that together. Or I'm not sure, but you figure it out. You see
Mhm.
what that person needs, where they're at, meet them there, and then kind of get the building blocks to see how you can finagle your way out of it, I guess.
Yeah. And here's the best thing about it, and you kind of approached it too, is you're separating, like, kind of how there's therapy, right? And they're the therapist and you're the client. No, you are here together to work as a team, and you're helping out the partners and parents figure this out together. And you aren't someone who's going to know everything, but you are
Mhm.
going to do the work for them to research it and understand it in depth. And I think as you go through your career, especially starting nursing, you're going to learn a whole hell of a lot more. Here you are, you're not even a mom yet, and you have all of this knowledge and motivation, and I think it's such a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of myths too, though, kind of moving on to like those questions to communicate, and I really want to break some myths with you. because we already broke the idiotic myth with how breastfeeding in public is gross, which on your face it was just like yeah, like what the fuck does
Yeah.
that even mean?
Yeah.
There's been many experiments too where moms go like sit on benches and they breastfeed and then they video the people who sit down and they like look at them weird or something like that. There's many
I like would not be able to contain myself. Like,
what the fuck? Throw something.
I don't even understand. Like, I literally don't understand how we're suppressing our own biology. Like, that really evades me.
Yeah. So we kind of already covered pretty much a lot of the myths. So like there is, breastfeeding is easy and natural. No. So if someone come up to you and you're like, "Oh yeah, breastfeeding is really easy," how would you respond?
I would say if it's the breastfeeding is natural route, I would say pregnancy and birth are also natural, and nobody is saying that those things are easy. So I don't know why people think that breastfeeding is just going to come easily. On top of the whole societal, mess that is the disempowerment of breastfeeding women. And that goes with not only the general public, your family, your friends, people you see around the block, whatever, but it also goes with healthcare professionals. Like across the world, there are a gajillion people who think that breastfeeding is not normal, that think that breastfeeding is shameful or disgusting or this, that, or the other thing. And so, of course, it's not going to come easily to people because we live in a society that doesn't support, like we don't have
Or teach us
about it. And people our age, we're coming up in an age that formula was probably more common than breastfeeding.
Yeah.
So I think
1000%.
in recent years, people are kind of jumping back on the breastfeeding train, if you want to call it that. But so our moms didn't breastfeed, our aunts didn't breastfeed, our neighbors didn't breastfeed, our grandparents might not have breastfed. So we're we were just talking about this isolation that we feel. And then on top of that, we don't even know, we don't know where to look for breastfeeding support because the healthcare professionals don't know what they're talking about a lot of the time. And we don't even have the peer support for breastfeeding.
Yeah.
So it's a whole mess.
It's really too, and you talked about how they're making money off of it as well. Formula is extremely expensive. I know there's WIC for people who are lower income, but what is in the formula? I'm sure there is a little bit of research at least on that. The difference between breast milk and formula, and it's not. Don't think we're judging moms, right, that use formula. This isn't meant to come across that way, but a lot of people breaking a myth there are like, if you use formula, your baby's going to be dumb. Like,
you said dumb.
Yeah, people. I'm see people say.
Well, it is actually true that formula-fed babies have lower IQs, but I wouldn't say that formula-fed babies are going to be dumb. I'm a formula-fed baby, but
same, me too.
And look at us.
Yeah, boom, chakalaka, motherfuckers.
But
how do you
I don't know. This is a controversial thing. I don't know.
Yeah, it is. Exactly. The problem is we don't have enough education. We don't have enough research on it yet.
That's what I was going to say is you can only do the best you can do with the information that you have when you're making the decision.
Forgive yourself for not knowing things before you knew them.
Exactly. Yes. So if you don't have peer support, if you don't have the support of providers, if you don't have the knowledge about breastfeeding, if if whatever the case is, you need to, again, give yourself grace that you didn't know what you were doing in a society that wasn't never made to support that decision.
Thank you so much for coming on my podcast. I really appreciate your openness and honesty and really talking about, the real shit, the real talk and your imposter syndrome. It's like really hard owning a business and doing what you do. So, yeah. Thank you.
But maybe one day, because we're both young, we're going to be like, I've been doing this for 30 years. And then we're going to have no imposter syndrome.
Yes. So to the listeners, I want you to leave the listeners with something, whether they are wanting to be a mom, are postpartum, are pregnant, or are just like us. What is one thing you want them to know and understand?
Well, I think that this has kind of been the motif of the whole episode, but give yourself grace. Wherever you are in life, wherever you're going, whatever you're doing, give yourself grace because you deserve it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What an episode. As we close out this honest and necessary conversation about the 4th trimester and pregnancy, one thing becomes clear. Postpartum is not a footnote. It's a full chapter, and every parent deserves the tools, support, compassion just to navigate it, from preparing birth into healing bodies and feeding babies and processing identity shifts and just breaking those myths wide open, no pun intended. This journey is raw and real and deeply human. Whether you're a new parent, a partner, a provider, or just someone who cares, let this be a reminder that no one is meant to do this just completely alone. The more we talk, the more we normalize it, and the more we build a culture where every parent is seen, held, and empowered, we're going to see communicate in real action, in real time. This is where passion turns into purpose for me, is because I want people to hear these topics more and more, and I want to shove it down their throat like I'm shoving a dildo or shoving his cock down my throat. You know what I mean? And I love that Emma came on here and was honest about her experience and honest about whether or not she wanted kids and honest about how she feels imposter syndrome in it, because that's real and that's raw, and that is talking about the taboo. Just a little update for you guys. Also, I started my schooling for the Somatica Institute, and by next year this time, I'll be a certified sexologist instead of just a sex advocate. I'm really excited. I'm really scared. I feel my own imposter syndrome in it, but I'll be able to take clients. Right now, I am taking practice sessions. So really, I'm just like doing my homework. So if you're looking for somebody to do maybe some sex coaching with, or just talk about your relationship and go over that trauma and the shame that you feel within your body, I am there for you. I'm ready to listen to you. And I know you'll end up being, my test subject, but that's the whole thing, is that we're all learning and we all don't know what we're doing. And that's the fun of it. And that's just being human. If you like this episode, please like and subscribe. And you guys know, with lots and lots and lots and lots of lube, remember, communicate. Mwah.